since I'm not an officer to make sure it's acceptable that I conduct the meeting?
We can have the committee conduct a vote on whether they approve or oppose to you conducting the meeting as an interim chair.
Perfect. Yeah. So does somebody else want to make a motion?
So moved.
A second.
This is Cornelius Graves.
Cornelius Smith, okay. Ethel second.
All right. Any discussion on that?
I have to do a roll call vote after as well.
If there's no discussion, then I guess we can go ahead and vote.
Committee member Brunson?
Present.
Are you in favor or?
No, I'm sorry, I was on the roll. Yes, in favor.
Okay. Committee member Drew Gertzmeyer?
In favor, and I'm here.
Okay. Committee member Jordan Gwynn? Committee member Leah Metz?
Yes, in favor.
Okay, so that passes unanimously.
All right, then I will call us to order as the interim chair. Before we start, we do need to read the statement. Due to the Safer at Home order issued by Governor Cooper, members of the WBE Citizen Advisory Committee are participating virtually. All members will vote by roll call. A member will be recognized, at which time the member will state his or her vote. So first order of business is adopting the agenda and approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Everyone should have received those in advance of the meeting. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes. Sorry, Ethel.
This is Cassandra, I second.
Any discussion on that? All right, there being no discussion, we can move to a vote.
Committee member Cassandra Brunson?
In favor.
Committee member Drew Gertzmeyer?
In favor.
Committee member Cornelius Graves?
In favor. Aye.
Committee member Jordan Gwynn? Committee member Stephen Hemrick?
In favor?
Committee member Leah Metz?
In favor.
Committee member Ethel Witt?
In favor.
So that passes.
So I think that just brings us to the only other agenda items that we have, which are good faith effort reviews. And so I will turn it over to Alex for the bar construction playground improvements group 2.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We have a few pre-construction good faith efforts to review and then a post-construction good faith effort. And we will begin with bar construction's pre-construction good faith effort for group 2 of the playground improvements. And we're in an effort to just use our time a little bit more intentionally. We've moved to a different format in presenting the content of the good faith effort. So I've put all of the information needed by item in a PowerPoint and been really intentional and specific about what you need to be able to answer to provide an accurate, reasonable score. Please feel free to interrupt me to ask any questions as we go along. So for this project, the established MWBE goals were 6% for minority-owned firms and 6% for W-owned firms. The goals that were submitted by Bar Construction came in at 6% and at 2.7%. So beginning with letter A, Did a representative of your company attend the pre-bid solicitation or pre-bid meeting scheduled by the city to inform MWB firms of contracting, subcontracting, and supply opportunities, and to review contractor requirements of complying with the program? A representative from Bar Construction did attend the pre-bid meeting on August 19th at 1 p.m. So they'll receive 10 points for letter A. For letter B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? Bar Construction used iSquareFoot, which is an online platform to advertise to firms. And in addition, they used an advertisement. They placed an advertisement in Greater Diversity newspaper on August 13th. And so for this one, they would get 10 points as opposed to the 15 because they use two platforms. I've included a screenshot of their advertisement that they included in their good faith effort. This is from Greater Diversity. Are there any questions about letter B? Okay. For letter C, did your company provide a written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWBE firms that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days before bids are due to allow them time to participate? They have to, for this letter, include at least a source list that has at least 3 minority firms on it. They also have to include a specific description of the work to be subcontracted, a location where the bid documents can be reviewed, a name of a representative from the company, a location, date, and a time. From their letter that they included, they said we sent invitations to bid on August 20th to subcontractors and suppliers certified by various municipal business programs and other state programs with appropriate trades for this project, requesting quotations. I've included screenshots that I've taken from their letter. So in their invitation to bid, the date was August 20th. And they include contact information for Walter Grayson, who has been heading up the estimating for this project. They've included information about how to access the plans and contact information and a phone number and a time that they need to submit their quotes, as well as a description of the work. So for letter C, they would receive full points. Are there any questions about letter C? For letter D, did you follow up initial solicitation of interest by contacting MWBE firms to determine with certainty whether the MWBE firms are interested? Please include a telephone log. They said that we returned all calls received from MWBE contractors and followed up as needed by offering use of our plans, providing information regarding where plans could be viewed, mailing and or faxing drawings and specs when possible, and answering any other questions. This is a screenshot of their call. You all may not be able to see it because of the size of the screenshot, but within what they submitted, you can see where they are handwriting what was the product of the conversation, whether they were the firm that they used was a GC and was it going to be bidding on the project, or whether or not they left a message, or whether or not they were not bidding on the project. And then I included the document was multiple pages, so I included screenshots of those pages for you. I'm sorry, went back too quickly. Were there any questions about letter D? They received full points for that one. Okay. For letter E, how did your company identify and select portions of work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation, including where appropriate, breaking down contracts into economically feasible units to facilitate MWBE participation? They need to provide a copy of documentation where this information was included, and this is a possible 15 points. They said we accepted quotations for specific portions of work regardless of size and utilized the lowest cost combination, effectively breaking down total project the total project down into feasible portions of work to facilitate MWBE participation. So I've included a screenshot here. For this project, these playground improvements are a combination of really kind of 4 different sites. So Brushy Fork is one by itself, and then in Winston Lake there are 3 equipped playgrounds that are going in to the 3 spots in the park. So this screenshot is for Shelter 1 specifically, and then I've included the Shelters 3 and Shelters 4 and all of the other information that was included in their invitation to bid. And then the original subcontracting trades are at the bottom of that. Later on, when you get to their quote comparison form, you'll be able to see sort of the trades that they went with and the trades that they didn't. Are there any questions for letter D? They'll receive full points for letter D. Letter F, explain how you provided interested MWBE firms with equal access to specifications, plans, and requirements of the project, of the contract.
Alex, I don't want to interrupt you, but was that letter E you were talking about? They would get full points for E?
Yes, for letter E. I'm sorry, did I say D?
I thought I knew what you meant. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I apologize. For letter F, they said that as additional help, Bar Construction has plans, specifications, and requirements available for review by prospective minority and women-owned businesses in our office plan room. After reviewing them, we can provide these documents to you on a CD or paper copy prior to the bid day. Also, within their invitation to bid, they said in order to save you time and money in travel costs, Bar Construction has purchased a membership to isquarefoot.com, which is an invitation vehicle by which you are receiving this invitation today at no cost to you. You may access and review all plans and documents by going to this website after receiving your invitation in lieu of traveling to our office. You may also visit your local MWBE office. Well, okay, so for letter F, they would receive 10 points. Are there any questions about letter F? Letter G, how have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms, not rejecting the MWBE as unqualified without sound reasons based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities? Essentially for this one, they need to include the subcontractor quote comparison form and provide us with the ability to see and understand their decision-making process for either going with an MWBE or no or not. And so I've included a screenshot of the entire document, starting with this first section. So it looks like for grading, they received a quote from an MWBE, and they used that. They only received one quote. That was from an MWBE, and they used that quote. They received, in landscaping, they received quotes from both the WBE and an MWBE, and they went with the WBE because the MBE did not have the complete scope. For utilities, they did not use an MWBE. For playground equipment, that there are only specific firms that provide that. So, and that was chosen prior to the bid by the city. For site furnishings, they went with a WBE because they included a complete installation of the site furnishings, as opposed to what the other 2 firms did, which is not that. Are there any questions about this first section? Okay. So for surveying, they went with Crossroads Surveying Services. It's a WBE. They went with a WBE for silt, orange fence, and accessories. They chose an MWBE for the porta-john as well as a dumpster. they did not use an MWBE for concrete. They didn't actually get a quote based on this. And then neither for the concrete material, and then either for the fence, and then that's the total amount of MBE participation and the total amount of W participation. Now, this is different. The WBE participation is different from what they came in with on bid day. And then subsequently after bid day, they called me to let me know that they could now meet the 6% goal. But of course, that is, we don't score good faith efforts or make adjustments based on what they could do after the bid date. We do it based on what they turned in at the start of the date the bids were due. Are there any questions about the subcontractor quote comparison form?
So do you know where the difference came in on the W? What additional they were able to find?
I can tell you, I would have to look at their affidavit D, and I don't have it in front of me. But I could tell you that if I can just finish it and then I can look at it.
Yeah, sure. I was just curious.
Yeah. For letter H, what services were used from the City of Winston-Salem's MWBE office, available minority community organizations, minority contractors groups, local, state, and federal minority business assistance offices, and other organizations that provide assistance in the recruitment and placement of MWBE firms. For this one, they need to utilize 2 agencies to receive full value. And they requested assistance from our office. And so they would receive 5 points. Are there any questions about letter H? Letter I, how did your company provide assistance to an otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements to secure loans, supplies, or letters of credit, including waiving credit that is ordinarily required? Did your company assist minority firms in obtaining the same unit pricing with the bidder's suppliers in order to help minority firms in establishing credit? And they can receive 10 points for offering, 10 points for implementation. They said we notified companies that joint pay agreements and opportunities to rent equipment from Bar Construction were available, and joint pay agreements, and the second screenshot is actually from their invitation to bid, and it says that joint pay agreements and the opportunity to rent equipment from Bar Construction is included in something that they offer. These are screenshots of, for this particular letter, they included a supplemental letter that said Bar Construction encourages and offers joint pay agreement program to MBEs and WBEs for any and all subcontractor work for Bar Construction. We included a copy of blank forms to be used by subcontractors and sample forms actually used on a job in 2018. So these are examples from, well, they actually included one example from 2020, and then they included an example from 2018 where they did a joint pay agreement. So for this letter, they would get the credit for offering and the credit for implementation, a total of 20 points. Are there any questions about letter I? Letter J, how does your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance, or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance for subcontractors? They can provide evidence of implementation from previous projects in the last 5 years. And they can receive 10 points for offering and 15 points for implementation. They said that we assist subcontractors when requested in obtaining bonding or insurance coverage for any project. And then in their actual invitation to bid, they said if you need assistance with obtaining bonding, loan capital, lines of credit, insurance, or joint pay agreements, please contact us and we will review our needs and direct you to available agencies for assistance. This is evidence of an offer. And then they also included evidence of from their insurer that is actually was sent to the attention of Taisha for a previous project where it says it it is the general policy of Bar Construction with the consent of Bar's bonding company that Bar Construction requires bonds from subcontractors whose contract price to Bar Construction is in excess of $100,000. Subcontractors to Bar Construction with contract prices less than $100,000 are generally not required to post a subcontract bond to Bar Construction. This additional note says the joint pay agreement program that Bar Construction Company has implemented relieves subcontractors from any need to obtain bonding by Bar Construction Company Incorporated on subcontracts over $100,000. The joint pay agreement program alleviates risk to owner and general contractor and also enables MWBEs to obtain additional credit with vendors. Bar Construction Company's bonding company allows Bar Construction Company Incorporated not to bond the subcontractor if joint pay agreement program is being used. So there's an apparatus that exists for them to, as their policy, they don't bond subcontractors where the contract is less than 100, and then also if the subcontractor participates in their joint pay agreement program, then they don't need to be bonded, no matter if it's above 100,000 or not. So that's evidence of implementation. So they would receive the total possible 25 points for letter J. Are there any questions about that one? Letter K, did your company negotiate a joint venture or partnership arrangement with minority firms to increase opportunities for MWBE participation when possible? Bar Construction did not provide any evidence to support letter K, so they'll receive 0 points for letter K. For letter L, did your company provide quick pay agreements and policies to enable minority contractors and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? What procedures were initiated to fulfill this requirement, and how were the MWBE firms informed of this assistance? So within their letter to me, they said Bar Construction offers joint check agreements and quick pay agreements for MWBE businesses. In their invitation to bid, they said Bar Construction Company will modify our payment schedule to meet individual needs upon submission of a qualified invoice. At a minimum, Bar Construction will insert a quick pay clause in the subcontract, which allows for 2 billings per month in lieu of 1. And anything above getting paid one time a month that we consider quick pay. And they also have included their requirements for being able to get biweekly quick pay in terms of what a subcontractor will have to submit to them in order to do that. So that is evidence of both offering and implementation. So they'll receive the full 15 points for letter L. Are there any questions about letter L or this good faith effort in its entirety? Okay. I believe the contractor will be joining us so that you all can ask questions.
Yeah, and Stephen had a question about the affidavit D, I believe.
Right. I was gonna look that while we're waiting. I was gonna get.
Yeah, it would just be helpful to know, because since we're supposed to score them based on what the affidavit D actually said, not their increased amount, as good as it is that they went back and found somebody.
This is Taisha. May I add a comment?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. I do want to just also add that Bar Construction, this is a typical practice of theirs. I'm not urging it or shaming it at all, but to come in after the bids are due with the goals established after the bids are open. So that may be a question you want to ask. I don't know if that's a reflection of just bids coming in quickly and they're not able to add it on bid day. But this is a very frequent habit of this particular contractor.
So you're saying this is something you see pretty regularly, that they come in on bid day having not met the goals, but then later in the project, they come back and have met the goal, or at least say they can meet the goal.
Typically they do meet the goal, and I wouldn't even say later in the project. I would say sooner, like once a contract is executed, they have what they need. In my opinion, it would be beneficial in a better use of everyone's time if they kind of gave that to us on bid day, because they know that eventually they're going to plan to meet the goals.
So Walter Grayson from Bar Construction will be joining us here within the next few minutes.
So, Stephen, within the first, like when they on their identification of minority participation form, they included Mid-South Irrigation and which is the women-owned business, and Rake and Grading, and then subsequently in their subcontractor quote comparison form, they've added a number of WBEs.
Mm-hmm.
So just to be specific, they've added their site furnishings. They're using the WBE for site furnishings, for surveying, for silt, the orange fence and accessories, and then I think that's it.
Okay. So they added some scope to Mid-South, it looks like, and then picked up a surveyor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, Mid-South, I think, stayed the same. Or were they using it? Yeah, I think
they stay the same. Or it looks like Mid-South was originally just landscaping, but then they added Mid-South for
for site
furnishings, and then added a surveyor, and then also the silt fence.
Mm-hmm.
For a different contractor.
Yeah.
Alex?
Yes.
Sorry. Jakira, were you about to speak and move it on? Is the person waiting?
I was going to ask Alex if he could give Walter Grayson a call, because I'm unable to reach him.
Okay.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, good afternoon, Bar Construction's on the line.
Hello, Walter. This is Jakira, the MWBE program manager. So the committee has reviewed your good faith effort. Feel free to provide any context to your submission, and the committee will also ask you questions.
All right, you got Austin Ritchie here with Bar Construction, and Walter here, and Brian and Greg.
Okay,
So-
thank you all for attending.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. This is Stephen Hemrick. We just want to thank you for your time to come chat with us today. We had just a few questions. I think one of the clarifications we were looking for is it looked like after you had submitted the bid and the affidavit D, and between that time and when you submitted the good faith effort materials, that there was some additional WBE participation included. And so we were just wondering if you could provide us a little clarification on kind of timeline for how that happened and how you were able to pick up some of that additional participation in the interim period.
I'll speak in general. This is Greg, Vice President. Normally, if we don't, how that come about is probably scope clarifications, is utilizing a team, knowing that we're trying to be participants. I don't know right offhand the WBE that was submitted, that was in addition to, because I didn't bid it, but normally in our 72-hour window that we have to do is our opportunity to clarify scopes of work, add some scope that we may have thought was not covered, but it's normally covering the gap in scopes on what we anticipate on bid day and actually having time to discuss and work something out with contractors.
Thanks. Yeah, that is kind of what I thought. Some negotiation happens after the fact. We're kind of looking for a little clarification on why, you weren't able to get things put together on bid day. Things happen, but, we end up seeing you guys a few times because similar situations arise. So we were just looking for a little clarification there, but thank you.
Are there any additional questions from the committee?
I have one, I believe. Let me take a look at this form. Letter H. What services were used from the City of Winston-Salem's MWBE office? Please provide a copy of this documentation. Contractor must utilize at least 2 agencies to receive full value. And it looks like Alex went over that and said that you all contact the office. Just curious, I don't know, have you done work for the city before through this whole system of bidding and coming up to the board and presenting and all that stuff?
We've done multiple projects over there. A lot of your parks we've been involved in. I'm presently building or renovating the public safety center downtown. So yes,
Yeah.
we are familiar with y'all,
With the process.
coordinator and that kind of stuff.
Okay. I don't know. Alex gave us some information, but there wasn't 2 organizations that have been utilized. Is there, some additional information you could provide to, since you do have some history of the process and over the years have worked with the city? I'm just curious as to why, maybe you don't have another resource for getting the information out to the community, the MWBE community.
We do, even though we may not have talked touch them. We do utilize the I square foot, which we have multiple MBE and WBE people listed on that, which is built off of the systems that we're in contact with these people with.
Okay, I think we're looking more for local, state, and federal types of community organizations. I'm familiar with I square foot, but I mean, I don't know how you would identify which companies are MWBEs on that platform.
This is Stephen, and kind of piggybacking on Cassandra's point, I think what we're getting at here is that we're looking more for things like you didn't just reach out to the city of Winston-Salem's office, but may have reached out to someone like the UMCNC or even some of the state level organizations that are out there, you know, women's business centers, some of the civil rights offices that keep lists of hub certified businesses. And that's what we were looking for on that point, is if you had reached out to another one of those types of entities, and we just didn't see that. Even though there are some good state level and even some local trade organizations for the minority contractors.
Well, I guess the good thing on our end is I think we're meeting with the city of Winston tomorrow for minority participation, so maybe we will learn of more that we can tap into.
Covering some resources in which general contractors can reach out to MWBE vendors to advertise or solicit their participation on all city projects.
We did run the paper.
Right. Yeah, we run I think it's the Greater Diversified ad for reaching out to MWBE. You know, we will reach out to Alex, you know, with the city, get his Excel spreadsheet of, you know, all trades involved for that specific project. Then what we do is we create a letter in-house soliciting bids, and then we take that spreadsheet that was given to us and basically do a mass email out to all of the subcontractors, MWBE subcontractors. So we reach out that way additionally, in addition to the Greater Diversified ad that we submit.
Are there any additional questions from the committee? Well, I would like to thank you all for attending the meeting this evening. You will receive a follow-up email from Alex Bohannon.
All right, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Alex, I'll now turn it back over to you, Alex, to move on to the second good faith effort review if there are no questions from the committee.
Okay. All right, so this second one is for Magnolia, was submitted by Magnolia Construction for the Carl Russell Center renovations project. So the established MWBE goals for this project were 8% and 5%, and Magnolia came in at 0% and 13%. For letter A, did a representative of your company attend the pre-bid solicitation? Max Foster attended the pre-bid solicitation for Magnolia Construction on August 18th at 3 p.m. So they'll receive the full 10-point possible allocation for that one. For letter B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? So they would receive 5 points for using the Blue Book, which is where you can advertise similarly to iSquareFoot, where you can advertise it online. So they'd receive the 5 points out of the possible 15-point allocation. For letter C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWBE firms that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days before bids are due? They also need to provide evidence that they've sent it to at least 3 minority firms, a specific description of the work, location, where the bid documents can be viewed, name of a representative to contact, location, date, and time. This is their invitation to bid. You see at the top here, it was dated for August 11th, and bids were due, their due date for bids was August 25th, but their quotes are due on Wednesday, September 9th. They have a contact information, an email, and app box link for the plans and specifications. And they also have included a description of the work at the top, that first paragraph at the top here. So they would receive the full possible allocation for letter C. Are there any questions about this one? And this is their letter, who they sent the letter to. I tried to fit all the pages onto one slide. So this is, of course, very substantive. It meets the threshold to send it to at least 3 firms. For letter D, did you follow up initial solicitation by contacting MWBE firms to determine with certainty that they are interested? They needed to include a telephone log for this one. They did not include a telephone log per se, but they did include copies of a follow-up email that was sent to multiple subcontractors. So, for instance, at this one, there's a name at the top. His name is Brad, and he works for I think that's Triple P North Carolina Solutions, NC Solutions, and this is a follow-up email. And this was sent on August 21st, and in their the whole substantive good faith effort, and you can go back and review that. They included multiple letters that are similar, but just have been sent to different firms. So they included all of their follow-up letters in their good faith effort. So they'd receive 10 points. I think the allocation is 10 points. It's they'd receive the full allocation for this one. It's 10 points. For letter E, how did your company identify and select portions of work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation, including where appropriate, breaking down contracts into economically feasible units to facilitate MWBE participation? They need to provide, of course, a copy of the documentation where this was included. So they said that this is from their invitation, said Magnolia Construction is requesting bids from MWBE firms on the above referenced project. The project includes renovation of the Carl H. Russell Community Center. The community center building is an approximately 12,500 square foot building and is predominantly load-bearing masonry construction. Renovations will consist primarily of new paint and finishes, updated interior lighting, exterior landscaping, and pedestrian seating improvements, improved accessibility throughout, and security improvements. In their letter to me, when submitting their good faith effort, they said Magnolia Construction has broken down or combined elements of work into economically feasible units to facilitate MWBE participation. So here they would receive the full 15-point allocation. Are there any questions about letter E? That is a blank slide. Also, I've included a, I think that's from Bar Constructions. Okay, there we go. We're back on track. Letter F, explain how you provided interested MWBE firms with equal access to plan specifications and requirements of the contract. I've included a screenshot from the app box link that they've included, and everyone who received their invitation to bid has that access to that box, so they can click on that and they can view the plans that way. They would receive the full 10-point allocation for letter F. Letter G, how have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms, not rejecting the firms as unqualified without sound reasons based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities? Here they need to include the subcontractor quote comparison form. So starting with the first section of this, they listed all of the firms that they originally reached out to and then followed up to, and then indicated whether or not they bid with them or sent them a quote. So for cleaning, they received a quote from one M firm, but they were not the low bidder, so they did not go with them. For landscaping, they received one quote from a W, but they were not the low bidder. For demolition, the same. For demolition site work, they received a quote, but they weren't the low bidder. Steel, that person did not bid, and for millwork, they weren't the low bidder. And then for glass, they didn't get a bid. And then for drywall, they got one bid, but it was not the lowest bidder. For flooring, they received a bid for that one, and they were not the lowest bidder. For paint, for the first one, they were not the lowest bidder, and then for the second one, they did not. They excluded items on the quote. And for gym equipment, they used a W-owned firm that they got two, and then went with AOA Signs because they were the lowest. They didn't get a bid for plumbing, and they went with an M firm for plumbing. And then for HVAC, they did not get an MWBE bid. Are there any questions about their subcontractor quote comparison form? There might be another page. Yep. They went with a W-owned firm for bleachers, and they received multiple MWBE bids for electric, but didn't go with none of those because they were not the lowest bidder. And they went with, I don't think they went with Piedmont Fence for fencing. That may be a question to ask them about fencing.
So they did not include any information on the other bids to see what the difference between these M and WBE bids that are listed as not the low bidder, how those compared to the actual low bidder they used that was not an M or W, right?
Right. They on their subcontractor quote comparison form, they only included the bids from the from the WB, the MWBEs, not the non-MWBEs.
Okay, because I was getting ready to ask about the electrical, because I was going to ask you to go back a page to see if there was any others, but I think that answered the question. They did not include the non-MWBE. So we wouldn't be able to compare anything on this, essentially, right?
So I can show you. So I can show you their. If you all would like to, I can show you all their subcontractor utilization form. That is something that they include with their bids when they submit on bid day. That has their the information of their non-MWBE subs. So if you all would like to see that, if that can provide additional context, I'd be happy to show you that one.
I don't want to prolong it. I love this new format that you're using. But if someone else is interested, of course, I just kind of like for electrical, it would be good to see who they went with, what that number was, if that's handy. But if not, like I said, it's not that critical right now.
Yeah, I think that it would be good to see and give it some context. I mean, that's why they're supposed to provide us a comparison form, and they didn't include all the information we needed on the form this time.
Sure. So it looks like, so this is actually, I thought you would benefit from seeing this because this is actually one of the most substantive subcontractor supplier utilization forms I've seen during my time with the city. It's full, all of the areas are full. So it seems like they've chosen for electrical, HVAC, lockers, painting, flooring, drywall, concrete, furniture, landscaping, cleaning, millwork, plumbing, partitions, glass, welding, the basketball scoreboard, and the blinds. Those are all non-MWBE firms, or at least non-hub certified MWBE firms. I can't tell you for sure whether or not they're minority or women owned, but at least they are not hub certified.
Could you maybe slide it over so we could see the difference in the bids?
Yeah, I could do that.
Sorry, no, I'm being a little high maintenance.
No, I completely understand. It's okay. And as a matter of fact, I will, just so you can see the entire thing, I will pull up their quote comparison forms so that you can just look at them side by side as opposed to me having to switch back and forth from the slides. I'm going to try to get this side by side. So for cleaning, they ended up going with the Preferred Service LLC. But for that one, they didn't get any, the MWBs that they were looking at didn't bid that one. For, they did receive one bid for cleaning, but that one was dawn till dusk, and that one was for $7,000. And the one that they went with was for $3,000. So there was a $4,000 savings for cleaning with going with a non-hub certified firm. For landscaping, they received a quote from Carolina Greenscapes for $39,000, and then they received another quote from Engel & Son for $11,000. So that's almost a close to a $30,000 savings in the landscaping for, I was trying to find demolition over here. I don't see it here. So I think maybe they don't, maybe that's something that they're going to self-perform, because I don't see a demolition subcontractor over here. Neither do I see one for site work or steel. For millwork, they received a quote for $20,000, and the quote that they went with from their non-hub certified firm was $14,000. So it's a good savings there. For glass, they didn't receive an MWBE bid, so they went with a non-hub certified firm. Drywall, they got one bid for $15,000, but the quote that they went with was for $12,000. Yep. Flooring, they received an MWBE quote for $67,000. The one that they went with was $29,000. And for paint, they went with a they didn't. That was for gym equipment. So for painting, they didn't go with MWBE because they received an incomplete quote for one, and the other one was not the lowest bidder. They received Do Me Painting for $30,000. So that was about a $4,000 savings. Gym equipment, they went with the MWBE.
Sorry,
they did.
Alex, I'm sorry. What was the amount again? The savings on that last one?
For painting, it was about a $4,000 savings.
4. Okay, I almost thought you said 40. Okay.
And then for plumbing and gym equipment both, they went with the MWBEs. For HVAC, they didn't receive a quote from an MWBE, so they went with a non hub certified firm. So for electrical, all of these quotes, one is for the MWBEs, one is for 86, one is for 96, one is for 68, and one is for 141,000. All of those were not low. The lowest bidder that they went with, which was the non-hub certified firm, was for 57,000. And so at the very least, the lowest bid that I see is 68. So that's about $11,000 in savings. If you just look at the next lowest quote that they received from the MWBE. They went with a WBE firm for the bleachers. And then for fencing, although they didn't indicate that they didn't go with this one, they didn't, I don't see fencing on here. So it looks like they just didn't highlight them. They did go with Piedmont Fence for fencing.
Thanks, Alex. I think that was helpful to see the difference because it gives us a better idea when we're trying to figure out, did they negotiate with people fairly? You know, was it they went with a non-W or non-M over $500, or did they do it over $11,000 like they did in a lot of cases here? So I think that makes a big difference. At least for me, it does.
You know, that was very helpful. Thank you. But one thing that raises a red flag with me is the amounts, like the drastic amounts, like the $30,000 savings between one bid and another. In your experience, and anyone with the city can answer, like, do you ever see those invoices when they come in? Are they really that low at the end of the day when everything is submitted? Or is someone hooking them up? Is it their brother? I'd hate to sound like I don't trust someone, but how can one company do something for let's say 5,000, and the other company, it will cost them 35,000 to do it. It just throws up, it just raises questions like, I don't know.
Cassandra, I would say that a lot of the times that some of the non-MWBE firms have the ability or via their workforce or access to capital and things of that nature where they're able to bid at a lower price than some of the MWBE firms that you see bidding at a higher price.
Yeah, I know that to be true also, but that one, I think it was for landscaping, was like a $30,000 difference. I don't know, maybe the MWBE had to rent equipment and the other people own equipment.
Correct. So some of those things are taken into consideration, yet when they do submit higher than some of the non-MWBEs. Alex, can you go back to that form, please?
And I'll also add really quickly that it also depends on if the quotes are apples to apples. So sometimes, you know, depending on how well someone may be able to read the specifications, or maybe they're not that good at reading all the specifications, you can see a significant variance in the quotes that you receive.
Right, right.
Does that answer your question, Cassandra?
It does, and I just think that maybe there can be a little more work on our behalf in if we are identifying, you know, some things like that. How do can we reach out to them and you know, because I don't know if they have the opportunity to see where they fell in line with the bidding. Like you were $30,000 above, you know, everyone else. And they're going to keep trying and trying, and they're not getting anywhere, not getting the bids, because they don't understand that they're coming in that much higher, and they don't understand if they're not reading the specifications correctly, or if they have some other resources like the
Right. Yeah, I definitely welcome that recommendation. But the subcontractors do have the ability to, which you see in the solicitation letter, to reach out to the general contractors to gain a better understanding of the project specifications so that they can better, you know, bid the project as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was
I do see that. Yeah, I do see that as an area of opportunity for us maybe, or to foster those relationships between the MWB subcontractors with the general contractors so that they can just get a better understanding of how the bidding process works in general.
For sure. Thank you. That does answer my question.
Okay.
Alex, question for you. On the PowerPoint under plumbing, it's highlighted and it shows on the thing that it's it shows that it's a different groups, and what they put down on their form is actually utilizing, but on here it says bid used, and that would be a minority firm. So is the subcontractor utilization form correct, or is the oh, see, it's on there. Well, now they have it as that Piedmont Performance Plumbing. They have it marked as WF there, but then on the other form it's marked as H. On your PowerPoint, it's marked as H.
Wait, which one? I'm sorry.
Under plumbing, Piedmont Performance Plumbing. Or is it just too small?
Under plumbing.
Yep, it says
yes,
H.
Piedmont Performance Plumbing. It says bid used, and then under here, they have it. Yeah, they have it under plumbing here.
But they have it marked as a women-owned firm, and over here they have it marked as H. So is
okay.
Technically, it's just an error on their part. That company is a Hispanic-owned female, but she can't count in both, so she would count towards the W.
Oh, so Hispanic women count as women-owned and not minority.
sorry, I think I said that backwards. Piedmont Performance Plumbing is a Hispanic woman-owned firm.
I verified their hub status, and they are a Hispanic-owned firm, so they would contribute to the MBE firm goal.
So then that would change their percentage. At the beginning, it said it was at 0%.
Correct.
And so that would, I'm not sure how that would change it, but.
That would change it.
It would make one go down and the other one go up.
Correct. We'll send out the adjusted goals of what they should be based upon that change in the minority category when Alex calculates the different in percentages.
Okay, cool.
Are there any additional questions about the quote comparison or the subcontractor supplier utilization form? For letter H, what services were used from the City of Winston-Salem's MWBE office? Available minority community organizations, contractor groups, state, local, and federal minority business assistance offices, and other organizations that provide assistance in the recruitment and placement of MWBE firms. They did not claim credit for this item. For letter I, how did your company provide assistance to an otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan, capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements to secure loans, supplies, or letters of credit, including waiving credit that is ordinarily required? They need to, they get 10 points for offering and 10 points for implementation. They indicated in their invitation to bid, if you need assistance with obtaining bonding, loan capital, lines of credit, insurance, or joint pay agreements, please contact us and we will review your needs and direct you to available agencies for assistance. They say we pay twice monthly on submission of qualified invoices, but this is for, that last sentence would address quick pay, not joint pay. So here they would receive 10 points for offering. For letter J, how did your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance? I included that same statement. So they would get 10 points for offering and no points for implementation. So a total of 10 points for letter J. For letter K, did your company negotiate a joint venture or partnership arrangement with minority firms to increase opportunities for minority participation when possible? They did not provide any evidence to support any point allocation for letter K. For letter L, did your company provide quick pay agreements and policies to enable minority contractors and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? What procedures were initiated to fulfill this requirement, and how were they informed of this assistance? So within their invitation to bid, they offered, they stated that they already as a policy pay to pay bi-monthly, I think twice a month. Let me just go back. We pay twice monthly on submission of qualified invoices. So that's what they said there. So that's, of course, an offer. And then they included multiple examples of invoices that they've received for previous projects. So this one is dated for 4/15, and the date of the check was for was April 24th. So that was 9 days for April 20th, and they issued a check on May 8th. And then I included just one more for reference. So this invoice date is May 15th, and they issued a check on May 22nd. Are there any questions about letter L?
Hey, Alex, just a question back on E. Okay,
Yes.
so that was included then. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're very welcome. I think Magnolia Construction is going to join us as well.
Hey, Alex, while we're waiting on the contractor, real quick, did we have evidence of implementation for letter L?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, Monette Cook with Magnolia Construction will be joining here within the next few minutes. Hello, everyone. So the committee has reviewed your good faith effort submission for the Carl Russell's renovations. So feel free to give any context to your submission, and the committee will also ask you all some questions.
Okay. Provide a summary of what we get. Yes. You start with the thing. Like, okay, if you have
already looked over the subcontractor quote comparison, where we reached out to the different minority groups and we put explanation on there, but we did not put the lowest bidder on there. So I have gone in and put that price in there on each one. So if you had any follow-up questions on those.
So did anyone, if I hear you correctly, you are asking if the committee had any follow-up questions regarding the subcontractor's comparison quote form?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey there, this is Leah. Not really a question on the form per se, other than